Carl Jung discovered something horrible about narcissists that many people never see coming. Whenever they realize they can't control you anymore, they not only walk away. They use one final, horrible manipulation that can destroy many years of healing in just a few weeks. And if you don't notice it, you'll fall right into their trap. But before I reveal this final awful trick, you need to understand the psychological warfare that builds up to it. Carl Jung said that the narcissist's biggest fear isn't rejection, it's a time when their victim becomes mentally stronger than they are. According to Carl Jung's research on the shadow self, narcissists project their own vulnerability onto other people to preserve an illusion of superiority. But when you start healing, when you start establishing boundaries and refuse to play their games, something changes in their mind. Jung called it the power inversion crisis, and what occurs next will surprise you. Narcissists are not only looking for somebody to love them, they're hunting for a person to control, a person whose vitality they can feed off of. Carl Jung discovered that these people act from what he called the inflated ego, an emotional condition where they must continuously set up dominance to avoid confronting their own innermost emptiness. If you were weak, bewildered, or wanting validation from them, you served their position perfectly. You were their psychological availability, their approval machine. But at the time you begin to stand in your own power, the time you stop seeking approval from them and begin to trust your own instincts, you become a threat to their whole identity. And that's the moment they pull out the weapon Jung warned us about. According to Carl Jung, narcissists will use a strategy known as psychological projection warfare. When they realize they are losing control, they don't just gaslight you or act the victim anymore. They undertake what Jung called a final assault on your individuation process. This is what that seems like and why it's extremely dangerous. They begin by targeting your greatest strength itself. Remember how they used to criticize your shortcomings? Now they flip the script completely. Carl Jung said such behavior is because they realize that your strength is the one thing standing between them and ultimate control over you. They'll say something like, "You've changed," and not in a positive way. "You used to be so compassionate, now you're just self-centered. Achievement has really gone to your mind. You think you're better than every person now." But here's something that Jung discovered that will make your blood run cold. This isn't meaningless criticism. According to Carl Jung's understanding of narcissistic behavior, they're intentionally aimed at the parts of yourself that you're really proud of healing. If you've learned to establish boundaries, they will call you cold. If you found your voice, they'll call you pushy. If you've gained self-assurance, they will call you arrogant. Jung called this power shaming, and it's aimed to make you embarrassed of those very traits that set you free. But the true dirty trick is still coming. Carl Jung discovered that when strong shaming doesn't work, narcissists apply what he called nostalgic manipulation. They begin daydreaming about the old you, the aspect of yourself that was much easier to control. Remember the moment you used to laugh at my jokes? You were definitely happy before you began reading all those self-help books. I miss who you used to be. We had such a wonderful relationship before you changed. According to Jung, this is intuitive time travel aimed to bring you back into previous routines. They're not missing the real you, they're missing the controllable you. And if you're not vigilant, you'll begin to yearn for that version of yourself too. But here's where Jung's research becomes extremely disturbing. When both strength shaming and sentimental manipulation fail, narcissists will use their most destructive weapon, manufactured weakness. Carl Jung said that narcissists are skilled at understanding your innermost compassions and using them against you. They'll abruptly become vulnerable, having difficulty, or going through a difficult moment exactly when you're at your strongest. This is the awful trick Jung warned us about, and it's more dangerous than you can imagine. They'll create a crisis, perhaps it's a health scare, financial problems, disputes within the family, or emotional breakdown, and they will plan it perfectly in line with your moment of strength. According to Carl Jung, this isn't a coincidence, it's intentional. Jung discovered that narcissists keep comprehensive mental notes concerning what makes you feel guilty, what induces your caretaking inclinations, and what drives you to give in to your boundaries. They utilize your empathy against your recovery. And here's the part that will make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about them. Carl Jung discovered that narcissists will usually create these crises by generating exactly the same problems they're asking you to assist them in solving. They'll damage their own relationships, their employment, their health, anything to create a scenario where you feel compelled to step in and help them. According to Jung's research, this has two purposes: it pulls you back into the caretaker responsibility, and it confirms to them that they still have control over you. But Jung discovered something even more terrifying about this manipulation. They don't simply want your help, they want you to sacrifice your newly gained authority to give it to them. Carl Jung discovered that narcissists will intentionally ask you to surrender the specific boundaries and principles you've struggled hardest to establish. For example, "I know you don't always lend money, but this is entirely different. I know you're trying to concentrate on yourself, but couldn't you just help me this once?" According to Carl Jung, every "just this once" is meant to break down the psychological boundaries you've established. They're not asking for assistance, they're asking you to prove that they still are more important than your own personal well-being. And if you succumb to it, Jung warned, you'll lose all you've worked for. Carl Jung said the scariest part of manufactured weakness is that it feels real. The narcissist might actually be in crisis, but Jung discovered that they're professionals at choosing which issues to share with you and when. They have other individuals they could call and other resources they could use, but they come to you since they know you're the person who's most ready to give in on your boundaries to assist them.